And we're gonna have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny fucking Kaye. And when Santa squeezes his fat white ass down that chimney tonight, he's gonna find the jolliest bunch of assholes this side of the nut house.
Don't wait till the night before Christmas to be good.
And he calls on the show at one point, doesn't he?
Later, that's the best part. They do that joke in season 1, and then
that's episode 2 or 3, I think.
Yeah, and then in season 4 or 5,
they're
like, someone call 999. He's like, no, that's not the number anymore. It's 0118
999.
It's like several seasons.
That show is fucking
725.
I think a couple episodes after the introduction to that, though, there's a fire in the.
It's that episode.
There's a fire.
It's that episode because then he's like, he goes to remember. He's like, he doesn't remember the number. He's like, oh, just send an email.
Right.
He's like, to whom it may concern. To whom it may concern.
He sends an email to the fire station.
Help.
That fire. Help. And then it's
warm regards.
And then you don't think they'll ever get it. And then at the end, the firemen show up. They're like, we got an email.
we got an email about the fire.
Oh my God, is that brilliant? Feliz Navidad. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 100 or perhaps 101 of the Prehistoric Podcast. Part 4 in the 12 podcasts, the 5th 12 podcasts of Christmas. As always, I am one of your hosts, Francois de Nation.
I am Andrew Sorsdahl.
I'm afraid of what's next. For less than $1 a day, you can make sure that Andrew Sorsdahl never runs out of pipe tobacco again. Addiction is not a joke. It's not a laughing matter. When a man succumbs not only to cravings but also temptation and turns away from family and friends and really throws away everything that he's worked so hard to achieve for a few tokes on an old pipe, it's tough for someone like me to sit by so close and watch such a dear friend, cast aside what we had always talked about. Closeness, I guess.
Substance-free life.
Acquaintanceship. If you could mail in even just 100 of you, $1 each.
That's a loony.
407 Rutherford Crescent, RX7 4X.
You would cover the cost of our previous tertiary color question in one go.
But that's not the point. The point is, at least 100 of you, please send in, and that's a mail. Remember to mail that.
It's a mail-in offer.
Or if just one of you sent in $100.
Yeah, the one viewer we have. Could you send in?
Look at him. It's not gotten better.
Tobacco has been linked to
suicide,
depression,
molestation,
malaria,
vacuumitis,
starvation.
Patrick Dempsey.
I'm not at any risk of dying of starvation anytime soon.
The carbon tax, that's what they all say. You know what the saddest part of those commercials with those little kids from Africa?
What's that?
Is that they don't want help. They say, I'm full. I've had enough.
Look at how bloated their tummies are.
I've had enough to eat, they say. And they say, sir, you haven't eaten in 3 months. And they say, I feel totally fine.
My mom used to torture me with a picture of a very graphic picture of children starving in Africa.
Yeah.
You know, like as an 8-year-old, I'd be like,
and she said, eat.
Like, I'm starving. And she'd be like, this is starving. I don't want to ever hear you say that again. This is starving. And it's like, fucking chill out, bitch.
Chill out, bitch?
I'm just hungry.
I'm just like, I'm fucking dramatic. Like,
man, One time,
Traumatized me.
it's.
Big time.
I think one of the most shameful memories I have. Well, I remember I think I was 12, maybe 13, and it was just right when puberty was starting. Like testosterone was just starting to come in. And I remember one time my mom phoned me. She's coming home from work. She said, "Can I pick you up anything?" And I was like, "I would love Sprite if you bring me up Sprite or whatever." So she comes home. She doesn't have the Sprite, and I'm like grab the bag and like, "Where's the? You said you were gonna get me a Sprite." And then she's like, "Oh yeah, they didn't have any Sprite, so like I didn't grab they didn't have any Sprite." And then I put up the biggest fucking hissy fit of my life and was so mad and so like, how dare you for not getting me a Sprite? Like you fucking bit, like so mad and so the most unreasonable you've ever seen a child. That exact thing. It's like there's just no reason to be angry at all. And I just remember being so mad, and then like feeling justified or whatever. And I think eventually whatever I said sorry to my mom, but I still look back at that and be like, what the fuck was going on with me that I thought it was so fine to get so
justified,
angry,
so righteous.
Oh, it's like my mother was doing me this favor by calling me in the first place.
Yeah.
And then I was this prick which didn't bring. I was a Sprite too. Like I got mad in the same way that like if you kept telling your kid, your 16-year-old kid, I got you a car for your birthday. You kept telling them that. Then on their birthday you said, oh, that was just a joke. Like I was as mad as a kid would be. Because, like, I would say that kid is semi-justified being angry because he was just had his hopes up so much for that. I was, like, that angry. And it's like, this is a fucking Sprite. This is a thing that is going to last me about 15 to 20 minutes. And then
I had a friend.
Completely forgot.
I had a friend when I was younger. And this is right when Microsoft Xbox, the original, came out. And his parents bought him an Xbox for Christmas.
2001?
It would have been, 01, 02, maybe the next year, but his parents bought him an Xbox for Christmas. But they also took an X and put it on a box like a lot of parents did.
Oh.
Did this happen to you?
No.
Oh, I thought the Xbox thing happened to you.
No.
Anyway, I know this story in particular isn't about you, but did your parents give you a box with an X on it?
No. They did something else for my, that was like a big memory. I've talked about it on the podcast before.
Anyway, so they put the X on the box, and then he unwrapped the box with an X on it. And it was like, oh, that was cute, but we actually didn't get you an Xbox. We were just fucking with you. And, like, flip out, like, wreck stuff in the house.
Yeah.
And the Xbox was there.
That's all.
And it's like, then it's like, calm down. Like, we actually got you an Xbox. And it's like, then what do you do?
Then it's like, you don't deserve this, you little asshole. Yeah, I hate that. I think it's a bad move. If you're a parent...
The trick
Yeah, it might be a bad move.
We ate your Halloween candy. It's like, what?
Is it worth it?
No, it's not.
No.
It's funny when other people do it. Yeah. Like I like seeing other people irreparably damage the trust that the children have for them.
But it's like the hissy
I don't
fit.
want to do that.
Just the hissy fit. It's like, it's funny for the 2 seconds that it's
thing is,
like, oh, he was tricked. But then it's like that kid's throwing a tantrum.
The biggest point that I've heard, because I used to be really frustrated when Drew, who's 3 years old now, when he would throw like a tantrum over something small.
Yeah.
And then I read this online. It's like, the reason that your kid acts as if not getting the red sucker is the worst thing that's ever happened in his life is because he's 3 years old, and that literally is one of the worst things that's ever happened to him in his life. So like in the context of his life, that is it's terrible because this context is so small.
Yeah.
So I think especially with like those freakouts, it's like, yeah, you don't want to be, especially if they're like a little bit older, like, you know, like an 8 or 9 year old has way different expectations than a 3 or 4 or a 5 year old.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Or a 12-year-old who throws a hissy fit over a bottle of Sprite.
You're 12?
Yeah, like 11 or 12. Like not reasonable. Like at an age where it was not okay.
The only thing
I can think of is like hormones. I started puberty,
yeah.
so maybe that
hormones.
was. But it's like even then I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it was a bottle of Sprite, like nothing. Like, it was a nothing thing.
When I was 7, I had my only Halloween, and
my only Halloween.
Well, I couldn't go to Halloween before, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And then when I was 7, or I may have been 8. This may have been the year I moved to the farm, or the year before. we went out trick-or-treating.
Where'd you go? Hazelwood or Caber?
I did have 2 Halloweens, this is a lie. So my very, very first Halloween, I believe I was 6. And this is like I came before I lived with my parents. And then we went around Hazelwood and did trick-or-treating. Then the next year, we went to Mom and Dad's friend's house and they got drunk. And I watched a TV show at the friend's house. And then that year, I came home and put my candy bag on the table. Like dumped it out on our kitchen table. And unfortunately, a bag of Old Dutch chips flipped over and landed on it, like next to the candle. And the bag of chips lit on fire while I was eating my candy. And we quickly got the fire put out. But the table, which we still use, the clear coat, like the lacquer on the table, like bubbled, like perforated. It didn't burn the table, but it like fucked the lacquer on the top. And because my parents don't like doing things like refinish the table, it's still like that to this day. So I accidentally got a chip bag burned on the table and then never had Halloween again. And my parents bring it up almost every time we sit at the table. It's like, you're the reason that's fucked up still. It's like, hey, 17 years later, that's still your fucking fault.
Yeah. No, parents are amazing with that. It's like you did one thing.
Oh, I was 7. It was 21 years ago. It was 20 years ago.
And like you
20 years ago, you fucked that up, you fucking idiot.
You were a child, yeah. That reminds me actually.
It's so shitty.
I also didn't get birthdays anymore either. That was another consequence of that. We did do Christmas like a couple after, but
on my dad's, like I want to say like 45th or like 45, 46, 47, somewhere in there, mid 40s birthday. A bunch of people came over to our house to celebrate, and one older gentleman who shall remain unnamed for my hometown. I guess it's just like you don't think because you've never seen it before. Anyways, he took like 3 or 4 packages of sparklers, all of them at once, and just
He made a sparkler bomb.
it was like 45 of them, right? Like the amount of my dad's age. Lit them all at the exact same time. Literally, all it does if you do that with that much shit, it just like erupts into a fireball.
Sparkler bomb.
And like so immediately, and the metal gets hot like instantaneously. So it's like burned his hand, drops the whole thing, boom, hits our living room floor, and it was like a hardwood floor. Boom, starts fire. Like immediately catches on the hardwood floor and starts like spreading. And it's like, holy fuck, it's like this house is gonna go. And so everybody goes and like dumps water and like gets it out right away. Massive black crater in our floor where it started to burn through the floor and started to burn around. And yet my parents never ever fixed it. Like to the day they left that house and they moved the living room table like kind of over it so you couldn't see it. But that black hole was always there.
Black hole sun.
Won't you come
take me home
to the place
Eye
of the tiger.
One of my dad's favorite memories to bring up about me because I used to be like the worst fucking kid.
And I've heard from other people, like third parties,
that I was
a terrible
till I was
kid.
about like 10 years old.
Well, you say it too, don't you?
That's when I figured it out. Figured life.
Well, you were a moody.
10's where it started. Like basically, once I was a little fuckhead until I hit puberty, and once I hit puberty, it's like now I'm leveled out.
You started to think about
things.
things.
Like the hormones hit, and it's like okay, now I'm a person.
Now he just fucking pumped it all out into a sock, and then it wasn't as bad.
No,
it wasn't as bad.
But I was like 5 maybe, but I fucking hated going to bed, and my parents told me to go to bed, and I would just throw this massive tantrum every time, and they would try not to laugh at me. It was so ridiculous at that point because they dealt with it so much. And the specific memory is my dad telling me go to bed. I'm like, no, fucking screaming my head off, and then go to bed. And I spit on the floor, just like, no, like spitting on the floor.
That's a good move.
That's
like
not to laugh.
Fuck you, you're spitting on my floor, you little ass.
Well, no, he's like trying not to laugh. He's like calmly like, go get some paper towel, clean that up, and then go to bed. And the whole time I'm like fucking stomping and like being a little shithead, and they're just fucking laughing because it's just, what else do you do? It's just like ridiculous. Cleaning up the spit and like crying and screaming. Yeah, that was me. That's a snapshot of myself before I figured life out. It was that kind of garbage.
Tantrums are a beautiful time in a person's life. That it's just like you had no control over your own.
I can't wait till Drew's like 6 years old. And I can be like, hey, remember when getting your hair cut was a fucking like pulling teeth, and you like sat and threw a tantrum when they turned the clippers on? Like that was you. You used to be like throw a fucking tantrum. Now you don't do that.
Won't at 6 be like a completely different type of tantrum?
I don't. Right now, maybe, but like now it's like doesn't like the sound of the clippers.
Like right now he's throwing the tantrums? Like
Yeah.
that's his current thing?
Like they can't use the clippers. They have to use only scissors on his hair, and he has to be in front of an iPad.
I guess I could see how that could be scary.
Fruit Ninja. I can too, but it's like he's been through it so many times at this point. It's
You
like
get used to it.
you're still throwing a tantrum.
Yeah.
Like I get it. Like I don't get mad at him obviously in the moment, but like in my
you
head
imagine?
I'm like seriously.
I want that scenario where he freaks out, then you actually get mad, and then it's like this weird scene, and it's like the hair cutter person is like, I don't, and then you're like, fucking listen to what she's fucking saying, and it's like this weird situation where the hair cutter person's like, I can leave.
What happened last time was we went in for a haircut pretty recently, and then he freaked out, and but his hair was half cut, so I can't leave with him like half long hair, half cut.
Yeah.
So I had to just sit there for like an hour and a half while he like calmed back down, and she was like slowly able to like come in, like get a couple cuts and then back off.
And do they charge you more then?
No.
No, they weren't assholes about it?
No. Tommy Guns that's the one thing they're really good with.
They just have those flat rates, yeah.
Flat rates for kids, and they've had really difficult kids, and whether it's true or not, she made me feel better. She's like, he's not even the worst one we've seen.
Yeah. That's good.
I remember,
Probably not.
and this isn't like a Brad exaggeration story.
That's a new word.
Not similar to that.
I like how
should be.
I like how you drop that as if we've said that before.
Like a hyperbole.
Well, I just like that you came
Brad
up.
Perbole is pretty good. Brad Perbole is better.
I just like that was said. Like it's like you were just gonna say it and then keep going as if like
If this wasn't a momentous thing.
that wasn't said, but it's like that's well done.
Anyway,
Brad Perbole.
I remember I was 11 or 12, and it was harvest time. It was a year before my dad broke his arm. Anyway. Dad wanted me to go to the Quonset and get the 3-ton out and like bring it into the yard, and I just like, I don't know why, like I was so scared of driving the 3-ton on my own. And
I don't know why. As a kid, I was terrified of driving a car. I was like, and I don't know why I was terrified of operating this massive machine.
And my dad was so mad. He was like, I started working with my dad, like running the old combine in the 50s when everything was garbage when I was 10. You're such a little loser. Like, he just absolutely beat me. I was like, you fucking loser. And then, like, wouldn't talk to me. He's like, I'm so fucking disappointed.
It's so funny how the thing is, like, perspective completely changes what you think is
also
normal.
Like Brad telling stories like that. Not even just us, like just telling stories like that. Like if you told that to a psychologist, she'd be like, that was abuse. Like your father was abusive towards you through your whole childhood.
Oh yeah,
like
and
you went from one like neglectful and abusive home because of neglect as a young child to direct like constant verbal.
Oh yeah,
abuse
it wasn't
from your
constant.
parents.
Dad, like it was just like instances like that. It's not like
I would like.
I mean, everyone. The thing is, like, abuse is such a term, but like everyone at some point, their parents yell at them or like emotionally abuse.
I would say
them
it's like you look at how kids are raised in South Africa and how school goes, or like until a couple of years ago, how school was in South Africa, and it's like if any fucking person went from this country to there, they would be like, or if like it was transposed, they would be like, this is just abuse. Like these kids are just getting hit all the fucking time. This is not good.
Just like
the parents are hitting them. The teachers are hitting them. Everyone is hitting them. But
you can't hit a toddler, but like as soon as a kid's school age,
you can't hit a toddler.
I know, but you
can hit the hell out of a toddler.
I'm talking like,
you know how many times you can hit a toddler? They can take a lot of hits.
But like an 8-year-old is so cognizant of them being a dick. It's like then it's like you know how to make this stop. Like an 8 or 9-year-old, it's like you know how to make this stop.
You know you're being a little asshole.
It's like
you understand morality.
It's like A.
A little bit anyway.
It's like A equals B. So if A doesn't happen, B doesn't have to happen. But like kids like a 3-year-old like Drew can't like verbalize like, or like there's not like the vindictive, you know, like 8-year-olds get vindictive. It's like
some Andrew story, he's been vindictive. Like some of the things you told me where he grabs something and then throws it on the floor in front of you.
Well, like the one day, like
That's incredible.
I was very upset with him, and I think I know he was still a toddler, but it was very much like I could see in his eyes that he meant it. I spent this time making this dinner for him, had it sitting there. He was in this like whatever rowdy mood, and running around. I'm like, Drew, it's like time to sit down and eat your dinner. And he comes, he looks at the dinner. He's like, no, I don't want that. Obviously not that clear, but no, he's not going to eat it. I'm like, well, just sit down and try it. And then he looks at me. He looks at the dinner, looks at like the floor, looks back up at me, slowly creeps towards there like this. I'm like, Drew, don't do it. Like this. I'm like, Drew, don't do it. Looks me in the eyes, knocks the fucking whole plate of rice and chicken and vegetables.
Oh, I'd hit him with a TV.
Rice everywhere.
I would absolutely
chicken
grab
everywhere.
a smaller TV and fucking hit him as hard as I could.
Spilled it everywhere. I was cleaning up rice for the next 3 weeks.
That's what I was saying to
So-
Amy and I were watching some cute, like those cute, like videos of toddlers and babies and stuff on the internet. It was just like a montage of them doing funny shit. And then one was this kid. Two of them were incredible. The one was a kid was in like the family had like a kitchen open concept, like living room, big space.
Yeah.
So this kid took and this family had a bunch of potted plants. This kid took every potted plant in the whole house, dumped them all out in the kitchen, and smeared it all around the whole kitchen and on the walls. So it's like, and they had a bunch of potted plants, and like bigger potted plants, and like
That's when you.
and it's like everywhere. And it's like this mom comes over and she's just like, oh my god, whatever, and she laughs.
But the
'cause
thing
it's
is,
so
like,
ridiculous.
how was he so unsupervised that he
Oh!
was able to do that?
The thing is, like they said, the way that it seems is like kids are very cognizant of how like as angles, like they know when just their body is hidden. Like there was one where a kid is in a bath, and the kid pulled the shower curtain just so that the kid couldn't be seen. So the parents are like, "Are you in there?" "Yeah, I'm in here." And then the parent like hears like maniacal laughing. They're like, "Oh fuck!" It's like, "Are you playing with the shaving cream?" "No." "Are you sure?" "Yeah." "No." And the parent like comes over, and the kid like it's literally this much like pulls the thing across, and it's like the whole fucking thing, like 2 cans, and just like everywhere.
One of my favorite ones is I think everyone's seen it. It went super viral, but the kid with his younger brother and the peanut butter.
Oh, where he's like smearing peanut butter all over. Yes, that's incredible.
And like the conversation, like, why did you put peanut butter on brother? Well, he looked like he wanted some peanut butter. Like, it's a funny answer like that. Oh my god.
The one I saw in that montage though that I was like, this is because the setup. It was like
Yeah.
it was like somebody a writer would come up with. Yeah. So the mom goes into this room, and she's like, so this is my son's room or my 2 boys' room, and as you can see, it's like very clean, very pristine. It's like, and the beds look good, and the floor's all clean, and the baskets are all clean or whatever. And she's like, doesn't it look so nice and clean? She's like, they're supposed to be on time out right now in this room, and you'll notice that my boys aren't here in this room. And you'll say, like, well, where are your boys? She goes to the window. She points the camera out the window. They took every single thing in the entire room, threw it out the window, and then I don't know how they must have, like, sneaked past her and gone outside. But it's like everything in it, I guess people who were watching can see, but, like, if you took everything in this house and threw it in the yard, like that. And it's like, it's funny for a second, and then you're like, the kids aren't going to clean that up, obviously, because they're, 3 and 4, so they can't. They don't even understand the concept of, like, where to put it. So it's like, that fucking, can you imagine having to take every single thing in this entire room, and then having to bring it back inside and put it where it's like, fuck, that sucks. It's like the kid throws his food on the floor.
No, I would literally fill a coffee cup with my urine and be like, you're drinking the whole goddamn thing. It's like, every time you put all the stuff in the urine, you drink a full cup of my warm urine.
I love
Jesus.
it. And it's like, it would work.
It's very
That's
well
so
filtered.
fun.
If you
People survive on urine all the
Oh,
time.
urine is sterile. They
Yeah,
say there's nothing.
totally.
It can't actually hurt you in any way. Shit can hurt you.
Yeah.
Don't eat shit, because that can kill you. But
a good warm cup of urine?
Piss can't kill you.
I just sent Drew to bed. I'm like, hey, you're going to bed. Bye. Good night.
Oh, that was probably terrible to him too.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
He screamed and didn't even actually go to bed, but it was the.
So you
message.
grab it. It's like, I have to clean this fucking shit up.
I remember
Fuck you.
when we moved into our house on Osler, 2 of the bedrooms downstairs had locks on the outside.
Yeah.
Like place where the door to latch and the lock on. I'm like, that is so fucked. And then like I see some kids, I'm like, I totally get why there were locks on the outsides of the doors. It's like, put a camera and then lock the fucking door.
that's one of my favorite things to talk about is how it's like, God forbid I ever have children, but if that ever happens, it's like there's gonna be a room. It'll be a padded room. It'll be impossible for them to harm themselves. There'll be nothing in there, no way, unless they physically beat themselves to death. They can't harm themselves. And there'll be cameras, there'll be microphones. I'll be able to observe it all. And if that kid fucks around, they go straight to the padded room. And then it's like I watch them.
You're going to the padded room now.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like they go in there and it's like I can't hear anything. And there's a little TV that I can just be like, "How's the kid doing?" And he's like,
"Ah!" Like a micro, like, so you can talk to him. Like,
yeah, it's like,
stop.
So you're not gonna whatever. And
if you're ready to come out, you'll stop your crying.
And I think it's fine. I actually don't see anything wrong with that
just
way.
Pavlovian conditioning.
Like, I don't understand.
You know that it's certain.
Why is it wrong?
There's a certain
Pavlovian. Like, all he did was like ring a bell. Like, actually, like you're talking about like beating your kid with like a wire coat hanger every time he like.
But that's what Pavlovian conditioning is.
Yeah, it's like he won't want to get hit, but I was the same way.
It's
parents,
just linking action to consequences.
My parents. So my parents are South African. They're not the same as the Canadian folk. They garden hose, piece of garden hose. That was my spanking device as a child.
Jesus, that's intense.
It hurts way worse than a belt. I'll tell you that much. I got spanked by a belt a couple times, and every time I got spanked by a belt, I was like, "Oh, thank God!
Thank God, this is so.
This is so nice." I remember being like so thankful for the belt.
Mama used to beat me with a rubber hose and call
and
me.
And I'll say that my parents never. It was just on my bum, so at least they didn't scar me or anything.
Like your dad didn't go like ape shit and just start.
No, nothing like that. So it was a rubber hose.
It's going to be under the ribs,
huh? Right here.
Also, back of the legs. How bad would that fucking hurt?
Oh, it hurt. But back to the Pavlovian thing. I very quickly I learned how badly it hurts to get hit by a rubber hose, and it was like I really don't want to get hit with this rubber hose.
It's so smart.
And it's like, it takes a couple times, because the thing about kids, too, is they don't understand what's right and wrong, necessarily. So, and I think a thing that modern parents have over my parents' generation, or I can't really include my parents with everybody else, but, like, my parents, the one thing they had over them, is I feel like my parents were taught, if a kid does something wrong, hit them. Whereas, like, now, parents are taught more to be like, you have to understand that maybe the kid doesn't know that he did something wrong, and you have to like try to explain that the thing that he did is wrong. So you can't punish somebody if they didn't know that what they did was wrong in the first place. So my parents weren't like that. It was like sometimes you would do things as a kid, you had no idea that what you did was wrong, but you getting hit anyway. So you learn real quick that what you just did was wrong.
Yeah, like my parents never really hit me until like. And it wasn't really hitting, but like my dad got more physical when I was like.
It's not hitting. Like butt is spanking. Like that. Like it's spanking.
But like, I got
spanking. I got spanked with a
like
rubber
the
hose.
clotheslining and the screaming was more like. Now that you can stand up to me.
Oh yeah, when I was a man, my dad didn't take shit, which is fair. Mm-hmm. If you're a shithead when you're a full. Like a 15-year-old,
like 16-year-old man hit
it's like your dad should be able to clock you against the fucking face because it's like you know right and wrong completely. Yeah, you're a hormonal little prick, but I'm gonna teach you that you're a hormonal little prick.
Everyone has to challenge your father at some point in their life.
I love like my sister has one of my sisters has 3 children, and she has a son and. Bless his heart. He's honestly a nice kid. He's
so nice.
Super energetic. No, not the oldest.
Oh,
this is my young nephew.
Oh, I've not really had interactions.
Anyway, he's very hyperactive and he can be a little. And I was looking after him, and it was like I'm rambunctious and I'm mad and I'm gonna wreck things. I'm like, well, then I'm gonna grab you by the ankles. I'm gonna hold you upside down, and I did at full arm's length. He couldn't do anything. I'm like, when you stop moving, the blood don't need to rush to your head anymore, and you don't need to get lightheaded. And I just held him, and he was nearly passing out. I'm like, are you ready to surrender? And then he's like, yeah, because obviously he couldn't handle anymore, and I let him know. And then he started, right up again. Nope, yeah. We're going up again. And he's like, he's blacking out, he's blacking out. And I let him down.
It's the same as prison.
Then he tries one. Nope, up again. It's like. We used to catch gophers on leashes, and one of the guys from town dunked the gopher in the water right till before it drowns, and pull it back up, and you could hear it go. and then back in the water
See,
again.
the difference between the kid and the gopher is the gopher didn't
Like,
actually do anything
we're,
wrong.
We're getting it. Like we're talking about torturing small
Yeah.
I was
animals.
gonna say this is
and
more
child abuse. So
this is
this-
more
this
like
was on the
like
podcast.
they said Jeffrey Dahmer.
Like,
used to-
this is haunting. Like there are people who are
Kill-
watching
kill
this
animals.
and it's like none of what you're talking about is okay. Like,
Well, it's like you started in one
You
thing.
can hold a kid upside down.
You start with the hold the kid upside
You can
down,
physically do that.
which I can understand to an extent. But then it's like we were drowning a gopher, and it's like these aren't equatable.
No,
The gopher, you can't teach the gopher morality and right and wrong.
I didn't do the gopher thing. I'm just saying it was more like the go
The
till you
repeated
can't handle
action,
it and then repeat the action.
it's this very much. We've all seen Big Mouth.
Yes.
You know the episode with like the jizz kits and like they have to escape Jay's house.
Yeah.
And then Andrew's like, this will be a fond memory until we recited at a party in college, and then we only to realize that it was child abuse later.
Yeah.
Very much reminds me of what's
That's
going on
so
right now.
It's very, very
These memories
important.
that are
To abuse your kids.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Nothing that'll leave a bruise. That's the trouble.
You don't have to hit him that hard. I'm not saying you have to hit him that hard. Just you get a small piece of rubber hose. Just get your garden variety.
I
garden
pray
hose.
that neither of you ever have children.
2 feet.
Well, I will be having children.
2 feet.
I don't think.
2 feet. Green one preferably
These
because
shoot
those are the
best
ones
at
that
these
hurt really
points,
bad
at
because
this point,
they had the like the ribs.
Okay, let's talk about something else.
I actually have something. I actually have something that I think is very relevant to all of us that I can't believe we haven't even thought of.
We got about 6 minutes.
We can go for as long as we fucking want.
Well, maybe we should cut them to half-hour episodes.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, we'll go for as long as it is relevant. So we're drinking Moosehead beer.
But fuck Moosehead.
And, yes, fuck Moosehead. So, we're very intimately involved, Brad especially, we're very intimately involved with a craft brewery in Saskatoon called Prairie Sun Brewery. And so they had a craft beer, a stout that they had that they called Moose Knuckle. And
Moose
so
Tracks.
Moose Tracks, sorry. Moose Knuckle is a beer by
They already got sued by these cunts.
District. What is it called? What's that?
District Brewing.
District Brewing. So
They weren't sued.
They were threatened to be sued.
So essentially,
Cease
and
desist.
that was a
Maybe
lot. The
tomorrow.
Moose Knuckle thing was years ago too. I didn't even know that. I thought it was recent. It was like 4 years ago that this started between Moose Knuckle and Moosehead. So, anyways, Moosehead is one of the most successful independent breweries in Canada.
Certainly.
Maybe
the
the most successful. Yeah, maybe. And I love it. I've always been like a pretty big proponent of Moosehead beer. Like I really like
Their
this
product,
beer.
yeah.
Like I'm a big fan of it. And anyways, they're kind of showing their corporate dark side. Because so like we said, we're involved with this craft brewery in Saskatoon. And they threaten legal action against this craft brewery that we work with. That literally it only kind of like exists in Saskatoon, Regina right now. Like
Province-wide.
it's Saskatchewan, yeah.
Richland.
Like like nobody in fucking Ontario.
No.
Saskatchewan. People in Saskatchewan would be the only ones who would ever know that it even exists. Very small, grassroots operation. It's not like their company is called Prairie Sun. Like it's not like they're calling their company Moose Brewery Head. No, they have a beer that they're calling
That has the word-
Tra-
that has the
has
word moose in it.
So
And then-
essentially, Moosehead is asserting that
They
moose
have the trademark
on moose.
copyright
And the
on
photo
moose in
on
beer.
moose.
Yeah, right. You can't have a moose like on your. Although what they rename Moose Tracks?
Broadway Black.
It still has a moose on it.
No, moosers have the prints from
No,
mooses.
it's got a moose in the trees.
Oh, well,
Yeah, it's like a silhouette of a moose.
It's probably because I don't believe Moosehead will ever look into that. They
Well, no,
can't.
I think moose is what they're more pissed off about.
The beer being called
Yeah.
moose.
Yeah, that's what they're more upset about. And I haven't even talked to you guys about it at all. I've only seen it like on Facebook kind of, and I think it's terrible. I think if Moosehead honestly thinks that it's taking business away from them, they're completely.
No, it's just unfortunately with copyright stuff, you have to aggressively defend it, because if you don't aggressively defend it, then you risk compromising the copyright.
Yeah.
And it's like very much people like I.
But how do you compromise
I
a copyright?
I hate it, but like it's the same. People said the same thing when Disney went after like local. There was like a small daycare in Florida that had like Mickey and Minnie painted on a mural, and they're like sent them a cease and desist letter.
I mean, I also don't like that, but I understand if you're using the exact characters.
I suppose it's different in that case just because it's the exact character, but
It's like, to me, in this situation, like, yes,
This is fairly aggressive.
Yeah, yes, they
aggressive,
produce the same product. They're producing beer, but if anyone at Moosehead is like, that's gonna detract people or that's gonna pull people away from buying our beer, I just don't see an argument ever. Like, I'm just like the word beer then should be up for grabs then, because it's like, oh, the word beer's on that bottle, but the word beer's on that bottle. I'm gonna go with that bottle of beer instead
Also,
because of the
Moose
word
is
beer. It's like, what? Doesn't make any fucking sense.
Owning the name Moose is a little ridiculous.
In Canada.
Also, it's also like Moosehead. That you should for sure have get copyright on Moosehead.
Moosehead.
Absolutely, that's your company. But like the word moose in association with beer
Is ridiculous. It's
like,
too common a word.
No one can ever name any beer, anything to do with a moose. Like the thing is, they're not banking. They're not.
And moose knuckle is.
Yeah.
It's not even the word moose. It's MUS. Like, it's not even.
Did they stop making Moose Knuckle, or they rename it?
I think they're still fighting that battle.
I think they stopped making moose knuckle because it's a fucking terrible beer. But
that's a fact. Moose knuckle is like the worst thing ever.
Fucking garbage.
It tastes terrible.
So
thank God.
All
Moose
this
actually
all,
just
the thing is, all the other district beers, I quite like the moose knuckle. Was never a fan.
Yeah.
But
what else do they make? They got a good stout, don't they?
They have a
milk
bunch,
stout.
They have a whole bunch of different.
Do they do that milk stout?
No, that's Blackbridge and Swift.
Oh.
I don't like the milk stout, but that's me. I don't like stouts.
So I think Moosehead is sending these cease and desist letters with the knowledge that these companies don't have the finances to fight the battle anyways. And I don't think Moosehead would win in a court of law. I don't think, but the process of fighting it is so expensive.
Oh yeah, they'd be able to afford to keep it going, so they would kind of win.
They'd win the war of attrition.
Yeah.
So it's just not worth it to fight the battle.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's, have they reached a level where it's like no one is actually making these decisions. It's just like they have it written somewhere in a contract that it's like, if somebody does whatever, we have to behave in this way.
I think to a certain
So it's
extent.
like, it's just automatic almost. That if Moose enters the fucking...
Well, I'm assuming what happens is they like probably have an attorney on retainer that just like every 3 months does a search, and it's like, are there any Moose beers?
And he needs to justify his existence. Because like, and there's because I went online to like look at what was happening with that because Moose Knuckle was a much more high profile case because there was a lot of articles written about it. So I was reading about that, and like Moose Knuckle at the beginning was like, oh yeah, they'll never win, and then it was just like, yikes, they got a lot of money.
I wish like Anheuser-Busch would come in and be like, we have a beer called Moosehead. What are you gonna do about it? It's like, we're a multi-billion-dollar company.
They'd be able to crush Moosehead.
Yeah, probably.
Well, not necessarily though, because Moosehead would have a lot of like signed trademarks in Canada. Like maybe in the United States they'd be able to be like, you can't sell this.
We have a beer called Moose Antlers. Like, come at us, bro. Like,
oh yeah, Moosehead would never move at. Yeah, you're right. Like if
they're just, the thing is, they're just bullying all these smaller players because they know they have the money to fight it and the other ones don't.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is like that, to me that's kind of garbage. Like it sucks that because Moose.
It's unfortunately the corporate world. It's just
Moose Tracks is. I don't know. Moose Tracks is a good name. It's a clever name, and that the one thing about Prairie Sun that I really like is that their beers are all just like the naming, the scheme. Like they have no naming scheme. It's just all like whatever name best represents whatever beer. That's the name they go with.
I mean, Broadway Black isn't terrible as a secondary name. I think they should have done. What they should have done is like.
Well, it went to a survey.
Yeah, right.
Two smracks or something like that, and like switch the
Been
names.
a little bit
like,
tongue in cheek with it.
I think they should. I think Prairie Sun should start selling muck Moosehead shirts.
Oh, that's funny.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to what could possibly be episode 101.
100.
Or 200 of the Prehistoric Fuckfest.
Fuck show.
Cunt. We don't swear as much as we used to because we've all cleaned up our acts.
Except for the child abuse from these two.
That's a totally reasonable thing.
Yeah, honestly,
I don't agree, But
the child abuse thing I think is a North American thing largely. Like actually a Canadian American thing largely. Like if you go to Europe, they're hosing their kids. South Africa's even gotten too nimby-pimby with that too. It's like they can't hit kids in school anymore. And I think hitting kids in school, not necessarily a bad idea. No, I don't know. It worked pretty good. Worked pretty good for a couple hundred years.
I think Adrian Peterson was doing it right. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in.
We'll be back at a later date. Later days.
Later days.
Later days.